Let's review the call, concentrating on the points that can have the biggest influence rather than going over each and everything that was stated. Initially, Elon announced that Q3 manufacturing would be temporarily halted due to summer shutdowns for extensive battery improvements. Did you hear? The major downtime and extensive battery upgrades implied a significant upgrade. When I speculate that this might be Tesla upgrading to cater to China's new sales from the new factory next door to Giga Shanghai, I hope you don't think I'm going too far. Elon doesn't provide specifics, so it's assumed that this is for the Highland. However, he says, global factory upgrades, which raises some questions because different factories use different batteries. Based on my estimation, the upgrades would be for LFP sales. If the battery lines are down and this causes the car lines to go down as well, one might assume that this would be the perfect opportunity to upgrade the vehicle lines for this new Highland facelift. If Tesla is saying they will also upgrade all LFP batteries, then this would imply the Model Y too. Regardless, this downtime does provide further confirmation that the Model 3 Highland will be arriving and using this new battery, which we have heard will be 66 kilowatt-hours instead of 60 kilowatt-hours. Elon is optimistic that the long-term economic climate will propel demand to unprecedented heights. Perhaps by the time Berlin, Texas, ramps up, demand for the rubber taxes will be nearly limitless. In addition, Elon promises a revolutionary new design that we can't wait to see, though there's still no word on when it might be revealed. The manufacturing is truly revolutionary, and we're informed that this will be the highest output of vehicles produced per hour in history. I'd like to guess that this production can reach between 1.5 and 2 million vehicles annually, which is obviously absurd and might necessitate a very large factory. After all, Elon mentioned units per hour, not square footage. When it comes to FSD, Elon discusses the exponential learning rate and how Tesla has more vehicles gathering data than all other companies combined, a ridiculous advantage and one that should be taken seriously. Dojo will lower neural net training costs and speed up FSD, and Elon continues to talk about how far ahead Tesla is in AI and why no other company can match it. Elon talks about how Tesla are opening up the charging network to other EV companies, but also goes on about how they opened a licensing FSD as well. Now this is something I've mentioned a few times. Look how big a deal it was when Ford GM said they would use to test the charger network, which is why I was saying once they start licensing Tesla's FSD hardware and software, it's going to be massive. Some people disagree. This will happen, but Elon goes on to say that they are already in talks of a major OEM about licensing it. I'd guess possibly Ford. This would show that legacy autos also validate Tesla's self-driving and are admitting how far ahead Tesla are. Of course, it also opens up a tunnel FSD customers. It's Tesla's competition are also pushing the service. Not only that, it will mean Tesla get that much more data collection of other EVs out there on the road too. Now, the first question asked was indeed about 4680 sales and was a reasonable question, asking the status and how far away we are from the specs that were laid out on Battery Day, and when they expect to achieve that. First, we're given some arbitrary, irrelevant statistics about production increasing 80 in Q2 over Q1, as we don't know when production started in Q1, so it doesn't mean a lot, and the 10 million cell production isn't much, and doesn't give us an idea of current run rate. The yield is increasing, though, reducing the scrap bill by 40, resulting in a 25 reduction in cost. Here is some big news. The new Cybertruck cell, which Tesla is getting ready to introduce, will have a density 10 times higher than the 4680's present density, which is about 244 watt-hours per kg. 10 more would equal 267, which at 269 has roughly the same energy density as the Panasonic 2170 cell. This is a fairly major breakthrough. It's called a cyber cell and was accomplished through mechanical design and process. The exciting part is that Tesla is achieving this without using silicon in either the new cathode or the anode, which are still to come. If these cyber cells have a higher energy density, it also means that Tesla will probably get a longer range than we initially anticipated. In fact, I believe that Tesla has a good chance of launching the Cybertruck with over 350 miles of range with these cells, possibly even 400 miles. Depending on how far the company wants to go and how big of a battery pack it has. Of course, if the range was that high, it would probably be a tri- or quad-motor version. But my theory is that Tesla will first launch the dual-motor version to demonstrate to the world how affordable a Cybertruck is when compared to the Lightning. On the other hand, it's possible that Tesla is able to launch the dual-motor and say the tri-mode data at the same time. This was a straightforward question, but Elon chooses to sidestep it in favor of answering another, claiming that demand is so far off the hook that it's not really a problem, suggesting that the question wasn't really about demand, but about the Cybertruck's abundance of new technology. Elon says it will be difficult to forecast the ramp at first, but he believes they'll be producing them in higher volume next year. I assume he means simply volume production, meaning that the car will be delivered this year. He doesn't say this quarter, so it might not be until Q4, but it might depend on when those cyber sales come online too. We're asked how many Optimus spots have been produced and when they will be able to start performing significant tasks. Elon claims that there are currently about 10, but that they would likely ramp up after November. It would be amazing if we could begin doing beneficial work in Tesla facilities as early as next year. Elon asked about whether the focus would be on lowering prices and affecting margins in order to increase volume growth. I literally said the other day that this is what Tesla is attempting. The short-term variances in margin and profitability are minor relative to the entire picture. It's about getting these cars produced. Yes, it should mean lower production costs for vehicles, but then suddenly the bot is extremely valuable to many other businesses. It will then come down to how fast they can rent production of the bots if they are suddenly viable. I think very little of the market value for the company has priced in the bots. My comparison is that printers sell their products at a discount and profit from the ink. The Razor example and Tesla's FSD share this business strategy. Naturally, Tesla makes money from its cars as well. Elon asked Tesla how much she was willing to give up in order to reach a 50 CAGR and how much she was willing to give up in order to gain more share. Tesla replied that it had nothing to do with share, and that the more cars that are produced with full autonomy capability, the more likely it is that they will be valued 5 times as much as they are today. This is the car's value, not 5 times more profit. For instance, if a car costs $30,000 to make and is sold for $40,000, that's a profit of $10,000. But if the car is worth 5 times as much and its value is $200,000, the profit rises to $70,000. 17 times greater profit. But in my opinion, it's unrealistic to anticipate receiving 5 times more value from each Tesla, since that would imply that the car is being employed as a river taxi full-time. Even if people are not letting their cars out in the fleet, they may still be paying for FSD subscription at probably $2,500 a year, which is still $20,000 over 10 years, which is more than twice as much profit as Tesla gets from selling the car. Yes, the main reason for the stock price to go to the moon is the belief in the story of FSD. However, I think plenty of people would not be interested in letting their cars out into the fleet, or at least not full-time. On the other hand, if it's paying $20,000 a year or so, then it's probably tempting for many. Elon Musk believes that FSD will surpass human safety standards by the end of this year. However, I don't think that will happen anytime soon. I think we still have a ways to go before FSD can drive itself for 1,000 trips without assistance. Finally, someone asks about pricing and whether Tesla will have to cut prices in order to meet the 1.8 million target. Elon claims that the new referral program will be helpful and that the rest will mostly depend on the state of the economy. If interest rates rise, tests will need to adjust prices accordingly, but demand in Q3 and Q4 should be higher, and Tesla will experience some significant supply disruptions that will affect supply. So hopefully there won't be any more price cuts this year. As for the stock price, it did drop after all of this news, but typically this is what happens, and it takes a few days for the investors to realize what exactly has been said and how exciting this future is looking. The stock price then usually recovers, hopefully reaching 300 next week. Elon says nothing about advertising though, and aside from a few simple Google ads, they haven't really taken advertising seriously.